Hey guys, so the other day I did a video before work where I talked about Ken Penders potentially trying to sue Paramount over the Sonic movie that just came out, Sonic Movie 2 that is. And the reason he wanted to try to sue them wasn't because of the entire movie itself, no. It was because of one moment, one little scene in the movie that takes place in a flashback. And it involves a certain character that is connected personally to Knuckles. And when I and anybody else, or when I and everybody else, just to say not and, but I and everybody else, heard about this, read about it, listened to what other people had to say about it, we all agreed that basically it was ridiculous for him to even attempt to do this. And whether or not it is suing Paramount, or as Train's fan, and I say this with all due respect, and I thank him for trying to help me correct this, Train's fan put it, negotiate. Either way you look at it, we would all agree that this is probably the most ridiculous reason as to wanting to do business or sue somebody in any manner. Because First of all, what makes Ken Penders think that the character they utilized for that moment in the second Sonic movie is his character? What makes him think that? What, because of the role he plays for Knuckles? Okay, fine. You know, it's very identical, very similar. But is it? Is it the same role? We don't know. Well, not the same role, but is it the same character in said role? We don't know. You know, does the character have the same name? Is Ken Penders sure about that? We're not sure. But one thing that I did mention in the previous video as to why I believe Ken is doing this is the same reason anybody would, want to try to negotiate or take to court a major studio of any kind that's tried to make a movie project or television project based on a franchise that they were once connected to or had ties to and created characters or stories for. And that's publicity. And why would they do it for publicity? Because potentially, like Ken Penders, they're working on their own versions or reversions or revised versions of said characters and stories for their own personal projects that they would like to present to the world down the line. And that's kind of what Penders is doing with the Lawless Suit Chronicles. He's doing his own revised version of the characters that he created, as well as he wants to attempt in the future to release all of his stories based, that he wrote, I should say, not based, but wrote for the Mobius 25 years storyline that he created. Later, there's an issue with that. Some of the characters in his original his original script for Mobius 25 years later are Sega characters like Sonic, Sally, members of the Chaotix, Tails. Some are even owned by other characters, were created and owned technically by other people. Like Mina is owned by somebody else. I think there are some other characters involved that are owned by somebody else. So on and so forth. So if Ken wants to include Mobius years later into his Lawless Suit Chronicles collection when he releases it, he has to go through a lot of negotiations and business transactions with Sega, with Archie to an extent, and even with the other creators of the other characters involved in the story. But overall, when I look at what Ken's trying to do here, like I said, he's basically in the same position as a lot of people that attempt to do this. He's trying to get publicity. He's trying to get attention on himself. That is why when you hear about certain people suing studios, like I said, over movie projects or television projects based on stuff that they used to be tied to, they're doing it mainly because they want attention on themselves and attention on the projects that are associated with them. So in their minds, it gets people's attention. It makes people wonder, that sounds interesting. Maybe I should check it out. Maybe I should see what it's about and go from there. But be that as it may, what Ken is doing is basically the same thing. But here's the catch. He won't admit it. He won't admit it. Whether he's trying to sue or negotiate, all he's doing in the long run is trying to get publicity for his Lawless Suit Chronicles, for his Mobius Years Later connection with it. Try to basically make himself look good so he can at least get the green light to add it in. You know, basically get the green light from Sega, Archie, and even the other content creators that created characters that are in the story. But it's not just the Lawless Suit Chronicles he's trying to get attention on either. He's trying to get attention for his other projects that people have acknowledged that he's been part of, like Republic America, I think that's one of them, as well as the Lost Ones movie that he wants to try to still get off the ground. So it's this whole lawsuit deal, suing or negotiating, however you look at it, that Penders is doing with or attempting to do with or against Paramount, aka Viacom. Like I said in the original video, it's a publicity stunt. But unfortunately, it's a publicity stunt that's going to come and bite him on the rear. It's going to come back and bite him. Because what's going to happen is negotiations are not going to go through. Paramount's just going to laugh them off like, who's this guy? And if it's a lawsuit that's going to happen, again, Paramount, being who they are, being around for over 100 years, basically over a century, will enlist their army of lawyers, basically laugh off Penders' claims, and potentially, reveal that not only has Penders done this in the past, but a lot of Penders' designs for his Lawless Suit Chronicles are similar to the Knuckles design owned by Sega, as well as similar to Sonic designs owned by Sega. And that's going to cost him too. So I know that sometimes there's that old saying of desperate people do desperate things. Well, this is one of those situations where Penders is one of those people that's trying desperately to get attention on his project. And like I said in my original video a couple days ago, there are other means of doing this. There are Patreon, there's Indiegogo, there's Kickstarter, and other means. You don't need to go out of your way and try to sue or negotiate with a major studio that's going to and a major corporation that owns said studio that's going to laugh off your negotiations, that's going to laugh off your claims if you take them to court, and basically end you from a financial, legal perspective to a point that you may not financially be stable anymore to even be able to get your projects off the ground. And you may lose said projects because of, oh, look, that character looks like Knuckles. Or that character has identicalness to Sonic. It's not worth it to do that. So in the end, folks, like I said, all this really is, as I said in the original, is a publicity stunt, in my opinion. And that is why Ken's doing this. But let me know what your thoughts are, and I'll talk to you later.